the march of 1,000 miles starts with a step. And sometimes you just have to be intentional and take that step and get some guidance from somebody who maybe knows a little bit more about that field than you do.
All right, welcome to the F Words podcast. I have with me John Forbes from Forbes Financial Group in Carbondale. We're going to be talking about absolutely all of the F words that John loves, from faith to food to finance. John, what are the F words?
Oh, F words are faith, food, fun, finances, family, and my favorite F word, philanthropy.
Philanthropy. It gets the bonus add-on with the P, right?
It gets the bonus, yeah.
So, John, you have been a financial advisor for a long time in your career. And I think that one of the things that most people kind of get shaken up by is they don't know how to talk about money. They don't know where to start. They've got the pushy sales guy phone call before. What is a financial advisor to you?
Oh, wow. A financial advisor is somebody who can help you walk through this journey called life and do it with some confidence when it comes to your finances. So many people, before they come to an advisor, feel overwhelmed. It's a very easy thing to be overwhelmed with when it comes to things as important as money. And to have someone that you can talk to and talk through some of these big decisions, it can be tremendously, tremendously valuable. And it's an honor to get to do that.
So you have got to build this amazing business in Forbes Financial by, bringing a community together. I think that you would say that a lot of the people who are your clients are also people who are friends. They're people you break bread with. They're people you drink wine with. They're people who you have a connection to. You care about them and they know that and feel that. It's not just a impersonal relationship. Is that true of all financial advisors?
No, that's not true. It's part of what makes this job so special and so fun is our team is committed to building and creating community. A lot of our clients call us, we are their organizers of their social calendar. And we love that honor. We love to be able to do that. When it comes to managing finances and managing money, the more trust you can have with your financial advisor, the better. And unfortunately, in this industry, many financial advisors' offices are structured more like a dentist. It's 2 awkward conversations a year, and you walk out not really looking forward to when you might speak again. We really try to do it. It's almost more, I can't come up with a really good word, maybe pastoral. We want to develop a relationship and be able to encourage people well and be encouraged by them also.
So when somebody comes into the Forbes office for the first time, and I can tell you because I'm sitting in what you call the bistro, it's not like everyone else, right? It's so different. You had to have done that really intentionally. Can you talk about where your head's at when you decided, that you were going to make Forbes what it is today?
It literally started with me in the parking lot, staring at the building that I own, not wanting to go in. I had absolutely burned out of doing it the old way and tried to envision what could we do that would make it special, that would make it fun, would make it enjoyable. And I just enjoy encouraging people. I enjoy hanging out with my friends. And we decided, okay, we're going to clone our favorite people. And how do you do that? You don't do that with 2 awkward financial conversations a year. You do it by creating community and walking through life with people. So yeah, we do wine tastings. We do nature walks. We do potlucks. If you'd have told me 10 years ago, I would call some of my favorite clients and say, bring some food to my party. I would have never believed it. But we absolutely have a blast with it. It's so much fun because again, when people retire, they lose that connection they had at the workplace. And, outside of maybe church and the neighborhood, it's hard to meet new people. And so we've taken great pride in putting together a model where we truly develop community. Friendships are made over potlucks. And it's just like how you would like the ideal family, the award, and that wholesome kind of fun connection with your favorite people. That's what we strive to develop and grow all the time.
So not only do you do that in a way that builds community, but you do it in a way that builds trust. And I feel like, that's something that is like a cornerstone of all financial relationships. Whether it's with your banker or whether it's with your financial advisor, whether it's with your attorney, having that trust changes the relationship. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely. People have the mistaken notion, even people in my industry have the mistaken notion that an investment advisor's primary role is to manage money. And it's not. It's to select investments. It's not to manage money. It's to manage investor behavior. And when portfolios blow up it isn't usually because the investment selected was doing poorly. It's that the market was not cooperating at the time and panic sets in and poor investment decisions are made and temporary losses are locked in as permanent when they sell. So one of the reasons we build this community and get to know people so well is so we want them to trust us and know us so that when I call you and tell you it's okay, it's going to be fine, be patient, we have a plan for this, that it's believable. It's not just something they hear once or twice a year.
So you said something that I just love a second ago, and I want you to go back and repeat that. It's the financial decisions are locked in when they sell. What was that specifically? What were you like? Can you tell me that again? That is beautiful.
One of the biggest mistakes investors make is taking a temporary decline and making it permanent by selling. When you sell into it, you've now locked it in and you've committed that loss is there for good. Whereas if you can be patient and keep remembering it's time in the market, not timing the market, that leads to success, and making sure you have a proper strategy in place so that when the market does not cooperate, which it does frequently, you've got a strategy and a plan in place and assets invested in such a way that we can tap into something else if we need money shortly. The biggest mistake people make is locking in losses by selling into a temporary decline.
I have got the privilege of talking to you for a really long time, and that is like this like drop of wisdom. That's the reason why you have a great financial advisor. Do you think that maybe things like social media, things like the movie industry, that, you know, this is day trading mentality of that you got to hustle and move your money around all the time to stay on top of things. Do you think that that's one of the things that has kind of like, you know, maybe made your job a little bit harder, or at least the job of an investor a little bit harder?
It certainly impedes the likelihood of success for an investor, whether it's on your laptop, on your phone, on your television, when there's red letter screaming panic, panic, panic messages every day, whether it's geopolitical, political, financial, this urgency that is created by the media in order to get clicks and to get eyeballs is tremendously detrimental to a successful investment outcome. You feel drawn emotionally to it's fight or flight. You've got to do something. And the reality is, if you step back and let it go and understand that the media is not there to help you make money. The media is there to help make themselves money. So the more they can do to create panic or to create dependency on watching them, they win and you lose.
You know, one of these analogies that I heard that has always just sort of like blown me away is this idea of like, you know, going up against the car dealership, right? When you show up to buy a car, you're going to buy 1, 2, 3 cars, you know, maybe in your entire life. Most people don't buy 100 cars. And the car dealership is going to sell 1, 2, or 3 cars that day. And so when you're in that sort of situation, like you don't have the knowledge that goes with that sort of understanding of all the pieces that take to make a good decision. And so it's really easy to make a bad decision. And I feel like that's such a great comparison to what you do as a financial advisor is you're the person who shows up when the market is screaming, when something's going wrong, when everything's changing to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not only is it going to be okay, but this has happened before. I've been through this before. Let's use our logical brains to make a good decision.
Yeah, it's funny when you walk up to an elevator, if the button said plunge or surge, you'd take the stairs. You wouldn't even get on the elevator, but it's up and down. Markets go up and down. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, but it's that sense of urgency, that panic that most media pushes us into is the idea that this time it's different. It's not different. And we can go over it, whether it's an election cycle, whether it's a recession, whether it's tax policy. More than likely, we've seen it before.
You take the stairs, right? It's just so scary. You throw your hands up and wouldn't even make that decision. When you talk about maybe the different approach, right? What is the difference between somebody who has someone in their corner like you who can talk them through that? What does that process actually look like? Are these clients calling on the phone? Are there people who are just sitting at home worried to death? Somebody who's trying to manage their own money, who's making these wishy-washy, quick decisions versus what happens when they have somebody like you in their corner?
Well, if nothing else, I think one of the best values that any financial advisor can add is to just be the circuit breaker, that steps in between the chaos and the client and keeps people from making bad decisions. Whether it's someone calling in or someone stopping by the office, we love to have our clients come by for a cup of coffee and just sit down and talk. And those are the kinds of conversations where there's no panic, there's no pressure. It's walking through that this time it's not different, talking about when we sat down at the very beginning and created a strategy and created a plan for how the money was going to be managed and invested that would try to help ensure that we're not taking money out of something that's losing money, that anytime we need to access money, we've got a bucket that we can tap into that's not gone down.
John, I think that one of the other things that I love about sort of connecting with you is that you have built community within the people who are part of the Forbes family, but you've also built a number of, big connections and community in Southern Illinois. What does it mean to be part of Southern Illinois and be able to offer the level of services that you do here where people can stop by and grab a cup of coffee?
We can forget too easily how special Southern Illinois is. And having my wife and I both grew up in Southern Illinois and both went to school at SIU Carbondale. So this region is very, very important to me and to my family. It can't be overstated how kind people are in this region. There's a kindness and a genuineness that you just don't get in a lot of other places. You kind of draw in what you are. And I love that the community we're creating is people who genuinely care about each other and want to make a great lasting impact on not only their community, but their family as well.
We've talked about in our community or in our conversations is just this idea of legacy. At some point, money's great, but it's certainly not everything. And being able to help somebody make these decisions as they think about where they're going in their life and what's important to them, that's a big part about being a financial advisor as well.
At the end of the day, that's what it rotates around. That's what everything revolves around is what's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you saving this money? In a perfect world, what happens with this money? Make decisions, big decisions, based on principles that will guide us toward that outcome with the least amount of risk necessary, with the least amount of volatility and turbulence necessary. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a why. And our team, we love to figure out what that is and how we can help you achieve what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it with the people that are nearest and dearest to you.
I'd like to ask the question of what's your why, John? Like, what is your why for creating something so different than what you see depicted in movies or when you think about a financial advisor? I don't think you pull up the dictionary and there's John Forbes and on it. I think that you've built something totally different, and there's got to be a driving force behind that. What is that for you?
What drives us to do what we do and how we do it, our why, is we just want to treat people the way I'd want to be treated. I'm so tired and it's so exhausting to see the direction this industry has gone in the past. And when you strip all of that away and figure out what gets me excited about getting up in the morning and coming into the office, it's knowing that I'm going to see some of my favorite people. They're going to come by for coffee while they're out running around, and we're going to visit a little bit. My team always has time to visit our favorite people and be able to encourage them a little bit in what they're doing and give them confidence. Again, so many people go through life rattled all the time about finances. Many people didn't grow up. I happened to grow up in a home where we weren't rich, we weren't poor. We were just things were good. It was solid, and there was no panic about finances in our home. Coming from that peaceful place, when you're dealing with financial matters, it affects everything else. It affects your relationships with your spouse, your kids, your parents. No matter what, having a soft place to land when it comes to finances and having that comfort and confidence that you're in control and it's going to be fine is so critically important.
John, how do you think people's personal values shape their financial decisions about how they deal with money, how they talk about money?
Well, I think with a lot of people, it's how you grew up. For a lot of my older clients, retired clients, they grew up in a very challenging time. Coming out of the recession, or rather coming out of the depression, that really molded for an entire generation what their view of finances are. And for many people, it means you don't talk about it. You just put your head down, keep working, and you don't think, you don't worry. Oftentimes, you have people who are less inclined to take any form of risk because of what they experienced growing up in a house that was frightened about money and concerned about money. It can certainly disrupt. Your normal may not be normal. You think it's normal, but it's not. And to be able to sit down and talk with somebody about it and figure out what practical steps can be taken to help achieve that financial confidence is critically important.
Why do you think money, like conversations about money, are so taboo? I feel like that's one of the things that makes this world so hard, is that it's uncomfortable for people to talk about money. It's uncomfortable for people to, either admit that they're doing well or admit that they're struggling. Why do you think that is in our society so heavily emphasized?
My best guess is that we study an awful lot of things in high school and even into college. We don't study money very much. And I think there's a concern about financial illiteracy. It's not necessarily ignorance. It's just not having had an opportunity to understand some basic financial concepts. And as a result, you have people who can get into serious problems with debt, with credit cards, and it gets too embarrassing to bring up with someone, whether it's a financial advisor or a family member. And that financial illiteracy and sometimes even just the embarrassment of knowing you messed up and not knowing how to correct it can have very real consequences.
And maybe there's also this piece of the idea of keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's this mentality of it doesn't matter how good you're doing. You're looking across the street or you're looking at somebody's brand new car or whatever it is, and you're worried that, hey, am I doing okay? I'm concerned, even though I'm doing better than I was last year, even though I'm doing better than I was 5 years ago. Am I on the right track? Am I going to have enough money to retire? I think those questions get so intimidating because there's not a lot of good information out there about this topic.
Yeah, it's true. And in this day and age where it's all about likes and clicks and how much attention you can get, it becomes even more tempting, especially the Gen X and Gen Z. There's this idea that you have to have it all together and you have to have it perfect every time. You don't have to have it perfect, but you do have to have an idea that you want to strive for a more perfect outcome. And that's what I think if people could just get over the fact that you might have made mistakes financially. You might have made a lot of mistakes financially. When you make the decision that, hey, I want to right the ship, and you talk to somebody and get help from a financial advisor, the march of 1,000 miles starts with a step. And sometimes you just have to be intentional and take that step and get some guidance from somebody who maybe knows a little bit more about that field than you do.
So when you have somebody come in and maybe meet with you for the first time, I assume you get a lot of the same questions. What's maybe the top 3 questions you get asked in that first meeting with a new potential client for you?
It usually starts with a comment, something to the effect of, I don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose any money. We work really hard at redefining what risk is. The biggest risk is that you outlive your money. The biggest risk is that you lose purchasing power over time. It's not, the biggest risk isn't that the market might fluctuate or it might go up or it might go down this quarter or next quarter. The biggest risk is, what are you doing to ensure that the standard of living you're trying to achieve, you'll be able to maintain not only now, but 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And as we've been through recently, inflation erodes a dollar. I've heard it called the silent killer. It's high blood pressure. It's the silent killer, inflation is, to your finances. You have to make sure you're structuring and planning not only for today, but to maintain that purchasing power in the future. So we step back and redefine what risk is. Risk is the market going to go up or down today. Risk is, how am I protecting my purchasing power a decade from now?
So you're telling me that, stuffing all the money under the mattress is no longer a good idea?
The mattress, mason jar, backyard, I've heard a few. Probably a better way to go than that, yeah.
So what are some of the other questions that you hear all the time, in that first meeting? What are people concerned about most of the time?
It really depends on the age. My younger clients that come in are, oftentimes before we can even invest a single dollar, we have to kind of take a snapshot and see where they're at right now. I've had a lot of younger clients that are really excited about the thought of investing, but if they've got a credit card that's charging 22% interest, I've got a better idea than an investment. It's let's get the credit card paid down. And then once you get the credit card paid down, we need to make sure you've got a solid foundation. Have you got a few months worth of expenses saved up in your checking or savings? These are the kinds of things that have to be done before a dollar gets invested. And there's many times I'll have a conversation with someone and I'll tell them, okay, here's your homework for the next year. We come up with a strategy, how you're going to pay off that credit card. You got to quit using it. And then let's get some money in savings. And then we'll start talking about investing, because the person that's excited about investing and jumps right in and invests, let's say the market takes a hit and about that time, the transmission goes out on the car, and they've got to come up with $2,000 or $3,000, and that 3,000 that they put in the market is at 2,200. They have to take it out. They take the loss. They get beat up financially. They get beat up emotionally, overthinking they made a bad decision. And then they're less likely to want to get investing again in the future when the reality was, if they would have had that financial foundation in place first, they would have had the money to take care of when life throws you that curve. And they could let the investments continue to do what we know they will do over time.
So what about somebody who maybe, has had some time in the market, who's closer to retirement age, who's made good financial decisions? What are the most common questions from them, when they're looking to maybe work with someone like you?
The biggest concern people have is living longer than their finances do. I want to live my life. Here's the dream, here's the goal. And for many people, it's also, I want to leave some money for the kids. What can I do to meet all of these demands all at the same time? And we can sit down and come up with a plan and a strategy and address things like, when should I take Social Security? Is tax-free income a good idea for me? Does it make sense to put this money that I'm going to use in 2 years for a car purchase? Should I put that in the market or not? And working through a plan and a strategy to have in place for those types of questions is what develops that financial confidence that we're striving to help our people achieve.
What about somebody who maybe has the money in the market and has done all right for themselves, but isn't paying any attention to it, doesn't have a connection to a financial advisor that's, actually, focused on their specific goals, or maybe they've got something left over from an old job that's been sitting there? I know that's an example of something that's happened to me. What advice would you kind of give them to do that, introspective, stop, pause, and take a look at where you are?
It doesn't fix itself. It takes some intentionality. It takes developing a plan and a strategy that is time tested. Even beyond investing. With our clients, we talk about taxes, and is Uncle Sam getting too much, getting in your wallet a little too much? What about estate planning and setting aside money for kids or grandkids? When we talk about legacy, those are the kinds of things that we talk about. Not so much the investments. It's who are these for? And in a perfect world, what kind of impact do you want to make with the good decisions that you made so far, and can we make them even better?
I love that so much. John, when you kind of think about person out there who is the best fit for working with you, I know that that's not just a number on a piece of paper. What kind of things go into that equation of when you're looking for the next person to be a fit here, the person who would benefit a lot by coming in and having a conversation? What are some of the criteria that would help them make that decision and know that's them?
We aren't taking on very many clients anymore. We're very selective about who we bring in, and we want to make sure they're in our tribe. And the first question that as a team we ask when we meet with somebody is this somebody I could sit down and have coffee with and spend a half an hour and leave that conversation with wind in my sails, or is this somebody who's going to make my eye twitch when I see their name on caller ID? That's the first thing we figure out right away. Are they our people? Are they facing a financial situation that we can make better? Can we help them with a problem they don't even know they have yet? That's another thing we look at. And we do, most of our clients that we get today are referrals from our existing clients. And one of the things that we come to realize is that your friends would probably be our friends as well. If it's somebody that you like and trust and enjoy spending time with, odds are we're going to as well. We do try to find that connection because, again, we only typically 3 or 4 families a quarter are what we're adding as far as new clients are concerned, because we want to make sure we're taking the time to serve our people well. And that's another thing in this industry. There's a lot of people out there trying to get a lot of relationships. If you're spending all your time trying to hunt down the next client, how are you spending time serving the ones you have? And that's something that became very, very important to us. If it's a friend of a client of ours, they're probably going to be friends of ours as well. As far as just someone off the street who's coming in and wants to talk, certainly come in and have that cup of coffee with us and let's talk a little bit about your situation. And if I feel like I can help you, I'll help you. If I feel like there's someone else better suited to help you, I can make that referral as well. But for people just coming in, we do have an investment minimum now, where we are currently set at $500,000. I say that not to be snooty. We say that because we are fiercely protecting the time that we have for our existing clients. And it's not fair if I'm bringing someone on, it's not fair to them if it's not mutually beneficial, not only to me and the new client, but to me and my existing clients as well.
I think it's really important to kind of understand that there are people out there who are looking, like you said, for as many relationships as humanly possible. It's just this churning numbers game. And I think that you've proved over and over again, for anyone who knows you, for anybody who knows your community, that that's absolutely not true here. And probably best illustrated by the types of things that you do in this office. And you kind of referenced them earlier. Whether it's a potluck lunch or a shopping trip somewhere, you have these really cool events where you're building social calendar, your clientele, and the community that you've sort of brought together. I think that most financial advisors would look at that and think that you're out of your mind. How has that worked out for you?
Yeah, sometimes I think we're out of our mind. It happens, but yeah, we commonly refer to ourselves as a hospitality firm that just happens to manage money really well. We do anywhere from 20 to 30 social events a year. We can't invite everybody to everything, but we do quite a few events, and we usually keep it 12 to 15, maybe 18 clients at a time. We're not looking for the great big rubber chicken dinner. We just want to spend time with our favorite people. And again, what we found is the more time you can spend with somebody, you build that trust. And when it comes to your money, or whether it comes to your kids or your faith or your health, that trust has to be at the core of everything. And so, yeah, we do the social events. We love to do it. But what we love more is just building that relationship and that connection with our favorite people.
When we talk about the F words, philanthropy is one of the big ones. And, it's the special one, right? It's the one that gets in, even though it doesn't start with an F. That's something that's really important to you. And I think it's something that's really important to a lot of the people you work with. Can you kind of talk about why that one got a special addition to your list?
Well, yeah, because philanthropy and just charitable giving for most of our clients is critically important. They're not hoarding stuff up for themselves. They are trying to make that imprint, that legacy, and make it be multi-generational. And you can do that setting aside money and giving, the kids or the grandkids money and things like that. But you can make a multi-generational impact in your community by identifying what charitable organizations are near and dear to you.
Beautiful. John, I want to kind of close out with a couple really rapid fire ones, just some fun stuff. Okay. What's one thing you wish more people ask you about finance?
The one question I wish people would ask more is, am I going to be okay? Whether it's, a young couple in their 20s or someone who's 10, 15 years into retirement. If we could settle that question right up front, I think it would give them a lot more comfort in what we're trying to do.
If you can identify the problem early enough, you have an opportunity to solve it. Whereas if you don't identify it very early in the process, it's a lot harder to solve when all the money's gone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's wonderful. What's one piece of advice that you would give your younger self if you could go back and do all this all over again, especially in the world of finance in general? What's one piece of advice you'd give yourself?
Pay yourself first. Yeah, pay yourself first. Set aside that. It may not seem like a lot, but if you can set aside some money into your retirement plan at work or into a Roth IRA or whatever it might be, when you can be diligent about that and make that just a core practice in your life, it doesn't matter what job you have. Anybody can retire a millionaire if they just get some core principles right up front.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna leave it with one last one, which is, what's the best financial advice you've ever received?
Don't marry her. Dodged a bullet. Yeah. Dodged a bullet. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. John, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I cannot wait to break down and get into all of the other F words. When we close out today, will you just remind me what the other F words are so that we can make sure that they're highlighted in some of our future conversations?
Faith, food, fun, family, finances, and philanthropy.
Okay. Well, with that, I think it's dinner time.
Sounds good.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thanks. Thanks, Dick.
Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Individual tax or legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance reference is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal.